there's no temptation, though, it says that you're going to run up against that is just common to man. But God's not going to allow us to be tempted beyond what we can bear. So I guess if we had that going on, and if we really weren't able to bear it, maybe God would help us there and not allow that to happen to us. I don't know. But we can also look at Peter. Peter talked about that. And this is one to really watch for, because, Job didn't realize that it was Satan that was causing all the problems, that was causing the difficulties he had in life. But Jesus told Peter, Satan's been after you. He wanted to sift you like wheat. And Peter says all of us need to be watchful of that Satan, it does have an influence where, he can cause us problems in our lives. But resist that. And also, Peter notices that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. Other people are having these things, and they're overcoming as well. So it's, knowing that, there's other examples of people who are dealing with things like this, it's helpful to us to know that as well. And I think we talked about this a little bit. It was brought up. Put your hope in the right place in the first place, right? Because it's when you put your hope in things that are temporary on this earth, that's when you have problems. Because when things get destroyed or things get stolen, Psalms tells us, "Be of good courage, and he that strengthens your heart, ye all that hope in the Lord, he shall strengthen your heart." Just keep your hope in the Lord. In 2 Timothy 6:17, and this second part of this passage, it says, "Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded." Now, I think Sarah was bringing up, that's what happens to people. They get high-minded about things, right? They get arrogant and prideful about things, but the rich people, they shouldn't be high-minded about that. God's given them riches, and allowed them, blessed them with those things so that they would do good with them. But nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God. So put your trust in God, not in the things of this world. And, that's similar to what Jesus said, isn't it? When in Matthew 6, where he said, lay up not treasure for yourself on earth where it rusts and caves and moth eats it and that sort of thing. It gets destroyed, but put your treasure in heaven. And again, went on to say, don't worry about all these things that you think you need on this earth and have anxiety over it, but he says what? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, So put your hope in God. And in Romans 8:31, if God's for us, who can be against us? And that's one of my favorite passages because, when you look at that, you think all the things that can happen to us, all the, things that people can do to us, they can't do anything, compared to what God can do for us. We've got God on our side. They can have 1,000 of them, but we have one God, and he's beyond all of that, right? So he's the creator of all things. He will bring all good things to pass for us. Any other comments or thoughts on this?
Well, if we just remember in the scriptures, Israel never lost any time that God put Israel in the right relationship with God, and nobody does lose with God. He's gonna be victorious.
Right.
That's what the Book of Revelation talks about. But that's what sometimes people forget. They think about, like talk about you get things about trusting too much in themselves. Well, on what?
Mm-hmm.
Trust in God, because you're gonna be victorious with God.
Yeah, there's just story after story in the Old Testament, especially about that in there. That's what all of it's about, is to teach us that we have our hope in God, and we never have to worry about that. But sometimes, I think sometimes people have a misplaced hope in God. They're looking for an answer that it's not the answer that God is going to give you sometimes, right?
Well, you want the right thing. You got to always do it the right thing.
reminds me of I heard this story a long time ago that this man was kind of a parable kind of story, I guess. Flood came in the community, terrible flood, and they knew it was coming, and so they went to help. They told people, you need to evacuate, and so they came to this guy's house, and along with everybody else, and they had a bus that he could load up their stuff, and they would take them out to safety. He said, God's going to take care of me. Don't worry about it. God will save me. And so I said, you sure? Yeah, he went on. So, well, the floods came, and now the streets have 4 feet of water in them. Came around with boats to get the people who were still there. And it came to his house with their boats. Said, you know, we're here to save you, to get you out of this mess. And he said, no, God is going to save me. I'll rely on my God. And he said, it's just going to get worse. I know I have my trust is in God. So then it kept on rising. He got on his roof. Finally, a helicopter came along. Saw him on his roof. They let down a rope. He said, no, take it away. God's going to save me. Well, the floods came over the roof, washed him away. He died in the flood, went to heaven, and met an angel there and says, I thought God was going to save me. What happened? He says, well, he sent a bus, a boat, and a helicopter. You know, what did you want? You know, so sometimes we don't recognize God's help and blessing and the way things turn out for us. You know, so... You know, sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? I mean, that was a situation with David. I mean, he gave in to sin, and it caused him a lot of problems in his life. But yet, he was still called a man after God's own heart because he still turned to God. We all sin and make mistakes. You know, that's the human life that we have here. But we have a God who's loving and forgiving and knows us better than we know ourselves, and is there for us when we need him. So, any other comments? Or? Okay. Well, that's all I have. That's the first bell, so you've got some extra time here. You know, when I put together lessons, I've taught for years. When I put together lessons, I usually start off and I put together. I've got so much material; it'd take a week to go through it. So then I pare it down, and then I look at it a little bit later, and I'll pick up and say, you know, I could add this and this, and then I think I've got too much; it's going to take too long, and so I never know how much to do. But I just remember, actually, you know, Elmer James was our teacher in high school, right, Jeff? And in speech class, I remember one person got up. They were so nervous they couldn't say a thing, and he just said, and I don't know that he made this quote up, but it always stuck with me. He says it's difficult to hear from somebody who has to say something, but a blessing to hear somebody who has something to say. And that's always stuck with me. So I never get up to say anything unless I have something to say, unless I feel like I have something to say. And then it's a lot easier. So, okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to teach. Thank you, Jeff.
see y'all too. All right. I can hear you. Good. Yeah, we're just not real creative too. They're
Invitation song's number 920. We'll be singing that in a few moments. We're very glad the presence of everyone's here, especially if you're visiting with us, and invite you back anytime. Come be with us. Continue to remember those that are in the bulletin, but I have several others tonight. Just got told that Kelly Blackwood is homesick. Linda Smith has bronchitis, so she's home. Jeff's been staying a lot with his mother, so he's kind of worn out, so he's at home. Barbara Lindsay's homesick. Continue to remember Wayne, he's at home. Thomas is not here tonight, Durham. And James is home with him because Thomas is not feeling too well. So continue to remember all their others that you may know that I don't know, but there's somebody else we need to make mention of. Remember those individuals. Also remember the Wings are meeting at our house Friday. I won't be there. I'll be gone on Friday, but you'll be there with Carrie. But so remember that. And also the baby shower for Lauren Long, January 26th after afternoon service. So keep that in mind. Anything else that we need to announce? Remember 920 is the invitation song.
Hey, teen retreats this weekend,
Teen retreat this weekend.
so pray for me and Kelly.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. As I was thinking about what to say, I was just thinking about how much I appreciate each one of you. How fortunate and blessed all of us are to be a part of the Lord's church where people genuinely care about each other. Tonight in our class, we were talking about edifying each other, building each other up. And in Romans chapter 14, verse 19, it says, "So then, let us pursue or let us go after what makes for peace and for building up." And when I was sitting there thinking about the Lord's church here, I'm thinking about how many people do that. And that's why I truly believe we can just look and see God at work in the lives of each one of us. Why? Because we know that there are people here who genuinely not just care about us, but they care about our soul. And when you know that people care about your soul and where you're going to spend eternity, it's like, this is a place I want to be. So thank you for that. Thank you for making that who you are and who we as the Lord's church represent. Thank you for showing the love of God in what you do. Tonight, you may be thinking and looking at yourself going, boy, I am struggling spiritually. You know, look around you, because these people right here would be honored to build you up, to encourage you, especially to pray with you and to pray for you. Or maybe tonight you want to put on Christ in baptism. If there's any way we can help you, please come now as we stand and sit down.